It's a pleasure to have you join me on this virtual journey. Welcome. Welcome aboard, as we set sail on a journey through history of Briarcliff Manor. The history of Briarcliff Manor, a village in the county of Westchester, New York, can be traced back to the founding of a settlement between the Hudson and Pocantico Rivers in the 19th century. The area now known as Briarcliff Manor had seen human occupation since at least the Archaic period, but significant growth in the settlements that are now incorporated into the village did not occur until the Industrial Revolution. The village, which was incorporated with 1 square mile in 1902, has expanded primarily through annexation of Scarborough in 1906 and from the town of Mount Pleasant in 1927. Early leaders of village government include President William de Nyse Nichols from 1902 to 1905, President Walter W. Law, Jr. from 1905 to 1918, President Mayor Henry H. Law from 1918 until his death in 1936, and Mayor J. Henry Ingham from 1936 to 1941. Our focus now turns to prehistory, an important aspect of our discussion. Briarcliff Manor has been inhabited by humans since the Archaic period, as Lewis Brennan and other archaeologists discovered in the Scarborough neighborhood during the Urs and Urs. They found and dated oyster shells, stone tools and slings most to the Archaic period of 8000 to 1000 BC. In the Precolonial era, the area of present-day Briarcliff Manor was inhabited by a band of the Wapinga tribes of Native Americans known as Sinks or Sing Sings. The tribe spoke coastal Munsee and called themselves Lenape the People. They owned territory as far north as the Croton River. The Wapingas held land as far north as the Rolliff-Johnson Kill, their boundary with the Mohican tribe. Brace yourself for a captivating discussion on early history as we explore its nuances and implications. Thumba Prite Altar Valley with clearings, houses, and a church part of Briarcliff Manor from Pine Hill c. 1900, Briarcliff Congregational Church foreground and Dissert House background in 1680. Frederick Phillips purchased the Ossining area from Indian Sachem Gohorius with the consent of his brother Westchester. Westchester became the name of the Hudson River hamlet, which was renamed Scarborough in 1864. On August 4, 1685, Phillips purchased about 156,000 acre from the St. Sinks, Phillipsburg Manor, extending from Spite and Double Creek along the Hudson River to the Croton River. In 1765, the Wapingas unsuccessfully attempted to sue the Phillips family for control of the land. Their claim died out after around 50 tribes people, organized into the Stockbridge militia under Abraham Nimham and his father Daniel Nimham, were killed by British forces in the Battle of Kingsbridge during the American Revolutionary War. The Phillipses also lost their claim to the land because of the war. The family, which was loyalist, had its property confiscated by the New York State Commission on Forfeiture in 1779, and it was sold in. The area remained largely unsettled until after the Revolution. In 1693, fewer than 20 families lived in the 50,000-acre area of Westchester, including what is now Briarcliff Manor. It became known as Whitson's Corners for brothers John H., Richard and Reuben Whitson, who owned adjoining farms totaling 400 acres in the area. In 1865, a one-room schoolhouse was built on land donated by John Whitson. The building Whitson's Schoolhouse, District No. 6 became the first schoolhouse and church in the area, and George A. Todd, Jr. was the first teacher and superintendent of the school. In 1880, the Whitson's Corners station was added to the New York City and Northern Railroad train schedule, and the first train arrived on December 13. A post office was established a year later. It was renamed the Briarcliff Manor Post Office in 1897. Let's now zoom in on Progressive Era and uncover the hidden gems that lie within. Thumba Prite Alton, old man with white hair and sideburns wearing a suit. Walter Law, founder of Briarcliff Manor after retiring as vice president of W. and J. Sloan. Walter Law moved with his family to the present Briarcliff Manor. He bought his first 236-acre with the James Stillman Farm for $35,000 in 1890. Law rapidly added to his property, buying about 40 parcels in less than 10 years. By 1900, he owned more than 5,000 acres of Westchester County and became the largest individual landholder in the county. In 1892, Elliot Fitch Shepherd began construction of Woodley, a mansion in Scarborough. He ordered the construction of Scarborough's first dock at the present Scarborough Park to allow construction materials to be shipped to his property. The village later purchased the dock along with about 8 acres of underwater land and used it as a public dock and for receiving stone, coal, and building materials. In the years, Walter Law established Briarcliff Farms, a large holding of Jersey dairy cattle. At its zenith, Law had 500 workers caring for more than 1,000 cattle, 500 pigs, 4,000 chickens, thoroughbred horses, pheasants, peacocks, and sheep. Around the same time, he established the Briarcliff Table Water Company and the Briarcliff Greenhouses. The water company sold its products in 5 cities and had 250-foot wells. Briarcliff Farms was one of the first producers of certified milk in the U.S., and Law's jerseys produced about 4,500 discs of milk daily. As many as 8,000 roses were shipped from Briarcliff greenhouses daily, most to New York City. Law developed the village, establishing schools, churches, parks, and the Briarcliff Lodge. He established the School of Practical Agriculture in 1900 on Pleasantville Road on 66 acres, and had invested $2.50 million in the village by 1902. His employees at Briarcliff Farms moved into the village, and Law held some of their mortgages. At the time, New York State required a population density of at least 300 per square mile as the first step towards incorporation as a village. A proposition was presented to the supervisors of Mount Pleasant and Ossining on October 8, 1902, that the area of 640 acres with a population of 331 be incorporated as the village of Briarcliff Manor, and the village was incorporated on November 21. At the time, Law owned all but 2 small parcels of the square-mile village, and employed 100 of its residents. Thumber Priter left a large, long 2-story building, Briarcliff Lodge, a Tudor Revival resort in 1904. At its 1902 opening, the Briarcliff Lodge was a premier resort hotel. The Tudor Revival-style building was surrounded by dairy barns and greenhouses built by Law, and hosted numerous distinguished guests, including Franklin and Eleanor Roosevelt. The hotel declined during the years, but the lodge remained in use, housing the Edgewood Park School and the King's College. The original 1902 Briarcliff Lodge building burned to the ground on September 20, 2003, and contemporary portions of the lodge and other campus buildings were later demolished. In 1903, Mrs. Dow's School for Girls was founded at the Briarcliff Lodge. 2 years later, Walter Law gave Mary Elizabeth Dow 35 acres and built the Cheske Dow Hall. The school later became known as Briarcliff College. Also established in 1903, the Briarcliff Manor Fire Department was founded on February 10 by Frederick Celsius Messinger from Briarcliff Manor's first fire company, the 1901 Briarcliff Steamer Company No. 1. The department's first fire engine was white, which Messinger thought more visible than the conventional red in a village without street lights, and the village's engines remain white. The first 29 street lights, all electric, were installed in 1904, and Scarborough was incorporated into Briarcliff Manor in 1906. Law largely developed his land as a business corporation until 1907, when Briarcliff Farms moved to Pine Plains, New York, and Law began developing Briarcliff Manor as a municipal corporation instead. In 1908, Briarcliff Manor sponsored the first American International Road Race. The event centered around the village, and more than 300,000 people watched the race. The village had more than 100,000 visitors that day. The race was held again in 1934 and 1935. Also in 1908, the village police department was organized and the church house, a parish house of the Scarborough Presbyterian Church, was completed. The Briarcliff Community Center, nicknamed the Club, was a social organization established by the village in 1910 in the 1898 Briarcliff Schools building. The club became a social and recreational center, hosting dinners, dances, and variety shows, and containing a gymnasium and library. The organization ceased to exist in 1927. The building burned down in 1928, shortly after scheduled demolition to make way for the Briarcliff Peekskill Parkway. Sleepy Hollow Country Club was founded on May 11, 1911, in Scarborough, at the former house of Colonel Elliot Fitch Shepherd. The village municipal building was built in 1913 at a cost of $20,000 and was opened on July 4, 1914. Currently housing several businesses. During the years its cupola bell, which had tolled at the end of the World Wars, was moved to the front of the new firehouse. In 1914, the Briarcliff Community Center created the library, which eventually became the Briarcliff Manor Public Library. As we enter this new chapter, let's navigate the complexities of World War I and unravel its multifaceted nature. During World War I, 91 Briarcliff Manor residents served in the United States Armed Forces. Briarcliff Manor was directly involved in the First World War in a number of ways. The New York Guards 1st Provisional Regiment, 1,500 men operating under Colonel John B. Rose, was ordered to guard the Croton Aqueduct. Briarcliff Manor resident V. Everett Macy granted free use of Briarcliff Manor's former Holbrook Military Academy campus and buildings for the troops, initially arranged between him and the regiment's chaplain Captain Charles W. Baldwin, rector of St. Mary's Episcopal Church in Scarborough. The regiment was headquartered at the site from late 1918 to mid-1919, and the school's academic building was used as Field Hospital No. 2 of the Atlantic Division of the American Red Cross. During that time, Scarborough resident James Speyer led the Aqueduct Guards Citizens Committee to assist the regiment. Among those in the committee were Briarcliff Manor Scarborough residents Frank and Narcissa Vanderlip and V. Everett Macy, and the founder of Briarcliff Manor and his wife, Walter and Georgiana Law. On Michaelmas in 1918, the regiment attended a service at St. Mary's. In May of that year, the regiment participated in a fete de mai hosted by Sleepy Hollow Country Club in Scarborough for the American Red Cross benefit. The Scarborough School participated in an unknown assistance for the troops, and James Speyer's Scarborough home Waldheim was one of the primary meeting locations for his committee. With the groundwork laid, let's now examine post-progressive era and its connections to our previous discussions. Thumbnail digital image of a population charts population of Briarcliff Manor. Thumbnail facade of a 3-story brick fire station village municipal building decorated for the village semi-centennial. Thumbnail aerial view of a small village downtown and house Briarcliff Manor's downtown and the Crossroads neighborhood. 1952 Walter Law died on January 18, 1924. V. Everett Macy donated 265 acres to the Girl Scouts of the United States of America in 1925, which later became the Edith Macy Conference Center. The high school opened in 1928, and a section was added to the 1909 school building. A 1934 100-mile race in the village was sponsored by the Automobile Racing Club of America. During World War II, more than 340 of the village's 1,830 residents served in the United States Armed Forces. 8 streets in the village are named after residents who died in the war. Many of the village's firefighters, at least 9 on active duty, left to fight during the war, so many that the village had to request volunteers' ages to join the Briarcliff Manor Fire Department. In May 1946, an honorary dinner event was held for the returned veterans. In the same year, the People's Caucus Party, an organization which calls out interested residents for candidacy, was created. Approximately 30 people from Briarcliff Manor served in the Korean War. John Kelvin Kolsch, who lived in Scarborough and attended the Scarborough School, died in a Korean prison camp after 3 months in captivity. Briarcliff Manor celebrated its semicentennial celebration from October 1952, publishing a book about the village and its history. That year, The Crossroads neighborhood of 84 houses was completed. In 1953, Todd Elementary School opened free space at the Law Park Grade School for middle and high school students. The Putnam Division was discontinued in 1958, and the following year the village library reopened in the former train station. The village's first corporate facility, part of Phillips Laboratory, opened in 1960. In 1964 the new village hall opened, replacing the municipal building. The present high school opened in 1971 to ease the large enrollment at the grade school building, and the Briarcliff Manor Scarborough Historical Society was founded from the village's 75th anniversary committee in 1974. Pace University bought Briarcliff College in 1977 as a satellite of the school's Pleasantville campus. Also in 1977, the village celebrated its 75th anniversary. Events included a motorcade of 15 old racing cars participating in a loop around the route of Briarcliff Manor's 1934 road race. The following year, the Scarborough School closed. In 1980, the Chilmark Club became a part of the village's Parks and Recreation Department. Pace University began leasing the middle school building, and the middle school was moved to a portion of the new high school building. Rotary International founded a local chapter the following year. The grade school building was demolished in 1996, and senior housing was built on its site the following year. In the Vietnam War, at least 5 men served, with 4 killed and another wounded. In 1998, the high school auditorium opened. On September 16, 1999, the Beach Hill Road Bridge was destroyed by the rising Pocantico River during Hurricane Floyd. The village celebrated its centennial in 2002, which involved numerous celebratory events. In 2000, the Pool House in Law Memorial Park was demolished. Construction on a new facility began shortly after. In November 2001, a $4 million rehabilitation of Law Park was completed, with a new pavilion and pool house, paved walkways, lights and benches, a redesigned and filtered pond, and relocation of the Veterans Memorial. Over 300 people attended the Veterans Day rededication ceremony. In summer 2007, construction of a 6,600th addition to the Briarcliff Manor Public Library began. The facility was opened for use on February 19, 2009. In 2002, Ambient Corporation and Consolidated Edison installed an experimental broadband over power lines (BPL) system in Briarcliff Manor. The BPL system was criticized by amateur radio operators, as amateur radio units would reportedly not work within areas using a BPL system. The experimental system is now defunct. Chubud Lubavitch of Briarcliff Manor and Ossining was established around 2004 on Orchard Road in Chilmark. From 2008 to 2012, Briarcliff Manor hosted a weekly indoor farmers market, first at the Briarcliff Congregational Church's parish house, until it moved to Pace University's Briarcliff campus in 2012. In 2011, after Hurricane Irene, a sinkhole about 20 feet in diameter formed on North State Road in front of a gas station and repair shop, and New York's New York State Department of Transportation insurance covered the reconstruction, which retained the building's architectural style, and included a new concession area, an upper terrace with 280 donor-engraved bricks, bathrooms and walkways for ADA compliance, new lighting, and fire suppression and security systems. The village also planted new trees and shrubs replacing fire-damaged foliage. Have any questions or topics you'd like me to cover in future videos? Let me know in the comments.